What's happening, everybody? I'm John Ryan, joined by Tom Marks.
Hello.
And recently, we got a chance to sit down and play the Cyberpunk tabletop game with its original creator, Mike Pondsmith. And I noticed something that was kind of really interesting about it, and I want to get your take because you've seen the 2077 demo this past E3. So the 2020 tabletop game is wacky. Like, it's silly.
My sister's dating a transformer.
It's not just hard-boiled, like, you know, Blade Runner, dystopian, sci-fi, noir. It is legitimately like full of pop culture references from the 80s and like the 70s. Like, for example, instead of just like regular street gangs, there's like a bunch of Gilligan's Island cosplayers who are also essentially cannibalistic and feral and cultists and who roam the streets. Like the same thing with like a gang of clowns called the Bozos. Like, it's madness. And so I'm really curious to see whether or not we'll see that sort of, you know, lighthearted, like almost silliness in 2077.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think I got that vibe exactly from the demo at E3. I definitely, it wasn't a game that took itself completely seriously, and obviously that was a tonal shift we saw from the first trailer from like 6 years ago to this new trailer. It wasn't nighttime anymore even, it was just like a subtle little
the first
thing.
teaser in 2013 was like very heavy.
Yeah. There's definitely like weird stuff going on and like people being like a little off kilter and crazy, and you know, there's that Maelstrom gang that is like the kind of crux of the demo where you go into their hideout, and the whole idea behind them is that they've modified their bodies to the point where they're basically just robots at this point.
Right.
And it's kind of driven them insane, which I know is a mechanic in the tabletop.
Yeah, I mean, that's
as well.
this whole thing where like you can, if you augment yourself too much, you'll lose your humanity and you'll essentially be forced to go insane or go to cyber therapy.
Right.
Or just have the police come and murder you.
So those people were crazy and they were weird and they were like cracking jokes and a little bit like, you could tell they were a little off, right?
Yeah.
But it was still very much in a Blade Runner world sort of crazy.
It's not necessarily Gilligan's Island cosplayers running around murdering people.
It's not cannibalistic Gilligan's Island cosplayers. I didn't see anything like that. I think it's a game that isn't afraid to laugh, isn't afraid to make jokes at points, but it is definitely, there was a lot of hardcore worth
It's a little bit more traditional sci-fi, it seems.
Yeah, we're being real gruff. I mean, I liked that the world did feel, it didn't just feel like Blade Runner, it didn't just feel like Fifth Element, like it had its own little niche, but I don't think it went that far either.
Cool. I mean, like, I think it would be interesting. Also, I think it would be kind of a maddening, complex issue for them to get all those licenses.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I'd necessarily want to be fighting a bunch of cyborg Bob Denvers.
Is that something in the game?
I mean, this is a bunch of guys playing Gilligan.
3 hour tour, 3 hour tour, 3 hour tour.
Like, their basic gangster is Gilligan. Their gang leaders are the skippers. Their tech guys are the professors. It's madness.
I think if you put that in 2077, people wouldn't understand it, right?
Yeah.
It's like one of those things. When I talked to Mike Pondsmith at E3, actually, he said part of his job was also not just telling them, you know, what needs to be in the game, what is part of Cyberpunk, but also telling them, like, just what wouldn't work for a video game.
Exactly, yeah.
And I think probably
that
he had a hand in axing Gilligan, maybe.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, I was talking to Casey DeFreitas about this, and she brought up a really great point where it's like sometimes when you're playing a tabletop game and you're GMing, or if you're a player character, like, you sort of need to do that. You need to have that sort of like wacky touchstone for our reality.
Right.
Just like not only because it's fun, but also just to like add that element of uniqueness to your group's game at the table.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, thank you so much. And if you guys want to see any kind of weird, crazy, nonsensical cosplay gangs in 2077, basically just futuristic juggalos, let us know in the comments below. And for everything else on Cyberpunk 2077, stick around on IGN.